little classy. Look at me.
Dude, you know what I find really funny, Omid? I think this is hilarious. I think it's very notable, only sometimes.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I find either I'm like too decked out and then you look like just too chilling.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
way too relaxed. Like you got your hoodie going on.
Yeah.
Or you'll have like your nice, like loose shirt, like the cotton shirt.
Yeah.
And then I almost look like I'm uptight and I just came out from like a 12-hour day for no reason.
I know. It's funny. It's. I try to go with the flow on Sundays. You know, when we shoot, I need to have the most comfortable clothing on me so I can feel like I can move. You know.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Do you think though, like, are you about the whole like look good, feel good type vibe? Like, do you need to, like, if you're going out, do you really care to go the extra, let's say, mile to look good?
I just want to look good. So I don't know. I wouldn't say I go extra unless it's some special occasion.
Yeah.
I just, as long as I feel comfortable and I feel like I take care of myself. Right now I look scruffy as hell.
No, I like it.
You know, that's the working man though.
I feel like
I just haven't had time to shave. That's the actual honest truth.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like your shaping of your beard, dude. Wow. Like I tried to execute that, bro. When I feel like I resurrected from the dead when I had that beard back going on with KP. Like,
yeah.
I'm so glad that's over. Like, I feel like now I'm trying to like keep up and maintain myself from all the time.
Honestly, bro, there was a certain point where you looked just completely different.
Dude, my parents, they said it the other day. They're like, my mom's like, I just felt like you were a different person.
Yeah.
Like I can't even recognize you.
Yeah.
You
No
know?
kidding.
But dude, we're back. We're at it. It's 2020. Holy shit.
Where are we right now?
What a year, bro.
I think people don't know where we're at right now.
I think literally, like literally location-wise, they don't know. And that's a whole other episode. But let's talk about 2019, bro. What was that like for you for the whole podcast?
Oh man, 2019, bro, was crazy for us. And I can't believe the amount of things that we did and we were able to execute and successfully, right? One of the biggest things was, I think for me was pulling off the live event. You know, I think for me that was a turning point because having followers on Instagram is one thing, but then having supporters come out, pay, you know, their hard-earned dollars to come watch us perform and also bring on the guests and the panelists and actually putting that together. I didn't realize that we had that many supporters. Like I didn't realize how many people actually enjoyed listening to us. And you can see numbers, like we see numbers on our Insta, like on the stats. You know, you see 300, 400, 500 downloads, but you don't really know what that is. It's just a number.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, oh, that's dope. But then actually setting up a live event is what, when I saw how many people came out, it was like, holy shit, like we actually built something within less than a year. Right. How about you? What was one thing for you?
Well, it's a good point you made when you really see it in action, right? Like when we got to really recognize the fact that we, in a sense, hit our target, right? Like I remember when you and me were sitting down and we were like, okay, well, how many people do we want?
Yeah.
And I remember you and me being like, all right, well, how many seats can this place fit?
Yeah.
At El Centro, right?
Yeah.
God bless Antonio.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, well, it seats 90, let's 80. Let's go 80. Let's shoot for the stars.
Yeah.
And we did that, man.
Yeah.
We had 80 tickets sold with about like, what was it? Like 70 people that actually showed up. And, you know, that could be a whole episode in and of itself. And I just wanted to give my 2 cents. It was just beautiful, to your point, to see people who actually listen. Like half the room was filled with people we didn't even know.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
was nuts. Like that just shows, right? Like there's the family and the friend support, which is inevitable.
Yeah.
Now, when you ask me, I think 3 things that really opened up my eyes was it's really cool to see, just based off of like some of the guests that we've brought. It showed me kind of a piece of who I am, right? Like I'd say like outside of our slogan, the 3 different types of people we brought showcased a side of me that I hold to like a high regard.
Yeah.
And that's, for instance, survivors. Like people who've overcame adversity in any way, which is big for me because, you know, with me and my story when I was 18, and I talk about that in my episode and how it was so life-changing.
Yeah.
And now I hear life-changing stories from other people. It just gives me more, man, it just makes me realize more and more people, as they get to share their story and you get to hear similar struggles or people who've gone through even more shit,
Yeah.
it just made me realize, like, wow, like there's other people who've gone through far worse, and just to hear how they handle it. So that's huge. And we have endless amount of people who've been through it, like Michael Eustachian, Bean Gill, right? Like these are icons to me.
Yeah.
Two other things, athletes, right? Like bringing on athletes. Like, man, I
Yeah.
remember like there's moments in time this past year where people are like, oh man, you guys bring sick athletes, and like just to be known for that
Yeah.
on the podcast. And sure enough, lastly, man, is entrepreneurs. You know, coming from family background of entrepreneurs, coming from me going to business school for the sole purpose of wanting to be one eventually.
Yeah.
And us sort of in a way emulating that now. Like every single guest we've brought on in those three retrospects, it's like a token of, I don't know, like something I just took with me in my life going into this next decade.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I don't know, I didn't really think of the podcast being such a big thing after, you know, creating it. You know, when we started, I told you, I just wanted to create content as a filmmaker, as someone who makes videos and content every single day. I wanted to create something of my own. And I was never consistent, you know, since 2013, 2014 of my own content. I was making different types and I was experimenting lots and I was learning lots, but there was no consistency in the content itself. And the podcast brought that for me. Like it structured the content for me. And I needed that big time because I couldn't figure out what I wanted to create, but I knew I wanted to create. I knew I wanted to create something. So, yeah. And seeing it grow has been very fulfilling.
Did it over exceed, like, honestly, just out of curiosity, did it over exceed your expectations? Like if this year went by and who knows, maybe we reached half of our growth,
Yeah.
or we've done half of what we did, would you be disappointed in yourself?
Seeing it, how we strategized it and put it together, I think really helped us accelerate from the beginning. And then once I saw that growth, like once I saw it actually taking off, and I'm like, yo, like, let's continue to pump out content. Let's continue to do what we're doing because it's working. That's when I started to see, okay, like it exceeded my expectations from the get. You know what I mean? Like when I started this, obviously you get the fancy mics, you get the nice equipment, you set it up. I had no expectations going in being like, yeah, we're going to hit 7,000 followers on Instagram. We're going to hit 500 downloads on Spotify, Apple Music,
Stats.
right? The stats. Hell, I didn't even expect doing a live event, right? So all those things kind of, once I saw people really messing with it, you know, people were like messaging us and like saying, yo, like that was an inspirational episode. You brought Bean Gill, you brought Raj Dillon, you brought Sean, all these guys, like, and then people started really like getting at it, you know, giving us reviews and messaging us personally, DMing us saying that you guys are on the right path. And the inner circle saying like, keep going.
Yeah.
The growth started to be more fulfilling.
Yeah.
Right. It started to feel good. And then that's when
that was fuel to the fire.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
I
want to kind of tell you, bro, like I find there's two things that happen in my personal life that I owe credit to the podcast for allowing it to happen, right? And I look at it this way. I'll share with you because I don't even think I've really voiced this out to you before.
Yeah.
And one of them is being how much more, let's say, how much more my communication skills have improved before I've even started this with you. And I mean in terms of like with you and me, with what people don't see behind the scenes, right? Like the constant communication, the weekly meetings, the way when it comes to us making a decision, like we've done a really, and I owe you credit for it, a good job of, hey, we want to do something. Well, let's talk about it first, right? Like that for me has done good things for my relationship, my dynamic with my family. For that, sometimes when you just want to hold something in and you go, no, you know what? I have to share it, right? No longer is it worth to bottle things up, right? And I learned that from our level of communication, because when you realize you have a vision and you're doing it with someone else, whether that's a relationship or that's a friendship or that's just straight business, regardless, there's no excuse. You have to communicate.
Yeah.
And I find that's how, like, to this day, bro, no arguments. You can't sit me down and be like, oh, well, what would you change? What would you have done differently? Nothing. because we told each other how we see it, we agreed upon it, and we did it.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Second thing, man, I believe you know this, is the fact that I always felt like I needed to improve my listening skills, right? I always wanted to be the one talking. I always wanted to be the legitimate center of attention. And then now this past year, the focus was on the guest. The focus was on me to really listen. And it's helped.
Yeah.
It's in my personal life when the cameras are off, I'm doing a better job. I notice I still got work to do.
Yeah.
But I could see the improvements, which is epic.
That's awesome, bro. I think, and just relaying what you're saying is, as a content creator, as someone who's making videos and always trying to figure out ways I can create, this podcast has given me a way to express myself in the most authentic way, you know, being across and not, like you said, bringing on a guest and just letting them shine.
Yeah.
Being actually curious about the person across from me. You know, a lot of people might start stuff just for the sake of starting it and doing it just to get, you know, a following or whatever the case. But we were genuinely going out.
Yeah.
We were genuinely going out and getting people that we were actually interested in and getting them to sit down across from them and listening to their story. It's completely different when you're making your own content for yourself, putting yourself on camera, trying to entertain the audience or do it for kind of your own name, versus having it under like a branch and really being curious about the other person versus yourself. And I think one thing that I learned was, you learn something from everyone. Doesn't matter who it is. And someone that's sitting across from you, you can learn something. And that's taking off the veil, you know, taking off the veil and being like, I'm going to really dig deep and see how this person works, what ticks them, what kind of insecurities do they have, what kind of fears do they have. And we're almost at 50 episodes, and I realize that everyone is very, very similar. We kind of go through the same things, but in a different lens. We have a different lens, but we go through the same things. We might be on different levels, but we go through the same things. We go through the doubts, the insecurities, the fears, and it doesn't matter where we are. You know, we brought on multimillionaires sitting across from us. We brought on people that have gone through crazy tragedies, and yet the fears and the dreams, the insights are all the same. It's just in a different lens or a different time. So that's what I've learned, bro.
Yeah, wow. Damn.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go so deep.
Knowledge bombs. You're gonna make me cry
just
right now.
drop it.
Dude, yeah, wow. I'm speechless. That you nailed it right on the button. There's a story to share. Even though there's so many similarities everyone has, they each have a unique story, and it never gets old, man. Never. Yeah. Not once have I sat there, bro, and have gone, oh, this sounds a lot like so and so. No. I mean, as similar as the struggles may be, it's such a unique way of seeing how they landed there and how they handled that struggle. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And that's what's interesting. That's what I love about what we're doing, is because we're showing it from all walks of life.
And you know what, bro, is like, I want to bring this back kind of to you, because, you know, 2019 was kind of a chaotic year for both of us, both in personal and career. Oh, yeah. And still being able to handle dropping weekly content and making it the best we can, and staying accountable to each other. I got to give you credit, bro. And that's just straight facts that things change. Your career's changed a couple times. Big time. Yeah. You moved. I did the same thing. You know, I bought a place. I did a lot of things. I didn't know if my career was going to be with the company I worked for. I didn't know if I was going to be even employed in certain cases, and still sticking with it, like, yo, we still got this podcast that we have to drop. Whereas not many people would spend their nights when they have other shit on their plate.
That's true. You know what's neat about that though, bro? Yeah. The podcast, Omid, for me anyway, always became the home I could go back to. Every damn time. No matter what change happened, in the back of my mind, it felt like this security blanket. Yeah. Where even the shift between jobs, the uncertainty of, okay, is this contract going to continue? Is it not? Regardless of how scary that was, as far as ensuring there was some sort of financial stability still being around, it almost felt like that love that is never gonna go away.
Yeah.
Right? That same feeling, like you got someone to go back home to. And for me, it's the Second Floor podcast as well, man.
Yeah.
It's just this base that we've built.
Yeah.
Like, it's so funny. I joke around about it. I tell people all the time, I'm like, man, since we signed those papers and we're in business together, we married, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. You always joke about that. You always bring that out like we're married.
It's neat though, bro. Because when I tell myself that,
Yeah.
like when I'm telling myself that we're in this together,
Yeah.
it's just that much more reason. When I put it out there, I want people to understand. I want myself to understand. It puts me in check because I go, you know what? You're not in this journey alone. And it also humbles me because I'm telling you right now, bro, none of this would be even into existence had it not been for you. Right. Mm-hmm. And like literally, not just to say that like, oh, with what you do, you're the one that called that day. And I was like, what's keeping you up, man? And that was at the time when we were just having coffees here and there.
Yeah, we weren't even, like, for the people that don't know, we didn't even know each other that well. Like, we knew each other, but we weren't like homies, or we weren't even close friends or anything at that point.
And we were, exactly. And you go, you know what, man, I'm thinking about doing a podcast. And I was like, dude, sign me up. I was like, I want to join. I want to do that. That is such a great element in our day and age now to be able to put messages out there.
Yeah.
Right. So I could go on and on, man, but I love what we've been doing, and I want us to continue doing it into 2020. And I know a lot of people are pretty damn excited to hear more of this stuff, you and me.
Yeah, man. And what's I think one other takeaway from 2019? What's like one highlight that maybe one pivotal moment or one highlight of 2019 based from the podcast?
Man, there's so much. I mean, let's just be real though. I know for a fact when we shifted gears from going into being a podcast, we're doing it for fun, we haven't monetized it yet, to our man Simon from luxmrkt.com, right? Got to give him a shout out. We would not even be sitting here with new equipment and to be able to go to the next level on our podcast if it weren't for people like him and businesses like Lux Market believing in us, right? Like, I remember, man, like sitting there strategizing, building sponsorships, providing some sort of consulting strategy, and being like, you know what, like, I want to put my heart into this. Like, I want us to really not sponsor but partner with someone who believes in us. And that's just outside of that as well, man. It made me realize, like, people believe in us. And if we're putting so much belief into this, it's going to come back. And that's what made me realize it did happen sooner than we would have expected. But I felt like at that point, I really noticed the hunger. Not even hunger, but like how willing you and me were ready. Just like without even saying it much, but being like, we're ready to actually process this a whole lot more, and there's going to be changes, and we're ready to take it and grab it.
And I think when we started, I leveled up big time. I don't think people know this, but a year and a bit ago when we started, even a little more longer than that, probably 2 years, I personally was just I was itching to create. I was itching to level up. I was itching just in my personal life. When you're in these instances where you don't really know where you're headed with your career, you don't really know what's going on. You're making videos and you're making content for YouTube, and you got a degree and your parents are on your back and people are like, yo, go do something real. Go get a real job, go do the things that will, build your life. And I was very close to taking a different route because I was in such a dark, deep, like rock bottom, no money, no nothing. I had a degree and I had a shit ton of debt, as every student, a lot of students that come out of college, and you don't know what you're going to do. You either continue to take that school route, and you just going deeper and deeper and deeper into debt until you find a job, and then you're stuck in that job or whatever the case is. But you as someone who wants to change directions and you feel like you can't, or you don't know what the next step is, it took me a while where I had to cut everything off and say, okay, I got to build something right now. And that's when I brought that up to you. I wasn't as skilled of a videographer as I am now. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. Yet I knew I wanted it a lot. And all I did was just continue to throw myself in these uncomfortable situations. And no coffees, no lattes, no going out, just straight work. And all I could think about was like building something. And luckily this podcast kind of gave me structure with the content side of things and making and trial and error. Like people could go to our first podcast with KB, and we had GoPros set up, and we had in this shitty interrogation room, right? Like you can see, they can go back to episode 1 and they can look at that and you can go back and say, wow, this is not as good as we thought it was.
We went from checking 2 cameras, now and having a setup like this to, hey Kenny man, make sure you don't put your hands on the table we're sitting on, because it's gonna pick up noise.
Yeah.
And just not having a clue of structure of what we're doing. It was like ready, set, go, play, let's do this.
Yeah. And no matter what went through personally in 2019, I'm super proud of just like myself being able to be consistent.
Big time.
With everything, consistent with my job, consistent with content, consistent with communicating with you. And I think if one thing that anyone can take away from me, especially on this unscripted episode, is in 12, 14, 16 months, if you're consistent with something, you'll see something at the end of it, right? It's only been a year and a bit, and we've seen the successes, the small victories. So I'm just excited to continue to build this thing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, man. It's the epitome of evolution, or not evolution. The epitome of consistency is key to driving something forward, to actually turning your dream into a reality. And it's gonna need time. It's gonna need work if you're ready to do it. And I find really for you, man, with what you said, Omid, this was like the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and
you just kept chasing it. You didn't fucking stop, man.
And the thing is, we're not even there yet, but just seeing the seed grow gave me fulfillment and gave me that light. Like, oh, there is light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
With this, it's not just going. It's just spinning in circles.
The light kept getting bigger.
It kept getting bigger, and it started getting more exciting, and things started coming our way, and opportunities started coming our way. But it took a long ass time. It took in the entire of 2019 to
Pretty
see
much 400 days, man.
It took everything. It took everything from me, and people don't understand. Like, it's not just hit record on a button and go.
Not at all.
It's not. Like, people don't understand how difficult it actually is to be.
I knew I had moments of reflection where I needed to like press on the brakes when I was like, hey man, why can't we just get this out tomorrow? And you're like, bro, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
This takes time.
Yeah. Like, doing it right takes time.
Oh,
as you know, the last like 4 or 5 months, people have started podcasts left, right, and center. But like, doing it right, it's different. Like, doing it properly is a completely different ball game versus like taking your phone out and recording. And I'm not trying to diss anyone that's starting. I actually encourage people to start.
Totally.
Make content that you want to do, start a podcast, do whatever, but just know what you're getting into, because it's not, if you want to do it right, it's not easy.
Totally.
So,
and then keep micro improvements in mind, right? You're talking about that consistency again, and then having to continuously get better from yesterday, from last month, from last quarter. Like, knowing that it's getting better and better, as opposed to just staying stagnant.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Well, that pretty much, I'd say, wraps up our 2019.
Yeah.
Right there. And we're going to go headstrong. We're going to go in fierce in 2020.
Man, people, I don't think people don't know what's in store. And this is just a little glimpse of it.
Exactly.
Little
sneak peek.
I'm excited.
I wanna say our slogan because it's so fun to say. Do I have your permission, director?
You have my permission.
All right. Well, you know what, guys? Thank you for sticking around and for listening in. This is the start of our new series, title To Be Determined. To Be Determined. But as you guys know, regardless, when you're on the second floor and you're listening in, we talk about how to survive, we talk about how to thrive, and we talk about how to keep the good vibes going in life and business, baby.